Morant with a running start. Elevate! Dunks! Oh my goodness! Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance. Adams going long. Morant! He hit it! Ja Morant, insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Grizzlies win edition. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies bounced back from an ugly 3-game losing streak to cleanse the palate with a runaway blowout victory over the pathetic Utah Jazz. They used a massive third quarter to blow the game open and briefly pull themselves up to 4th in the Western Conference. On today's episode, I'll talk about this blowout. Before I do, just a reminder that the final Grizzlies watch party of the season in Nashville is coming up next week on Tuesday, April 1st, for the massive game against the Golden State Warriors. If you're anywhere near Nashville, Tennessee, come on down to Noble's Beer Hall on Main Street. I will be there giving away Grizzlies prizes. It'll be a lot of fun watching the Grizzlies play a virtual playoff game, perhaps, against the Warriors. Come hang out with other Grizzlies fans. Get yourself some swag from me. Again, Tuesday, April 1st, 7 p.m., Noble's Beer Hall in Nashville, Tennessee. All right. The final numbers were incredible. The Grizzlies win 140 to 103. This was the Grizzlies' 7th game this season where they scored at least 140 points. In the first 29 seasons they've existed as a franchise, they only had 6 games where they scored 140 or more points. The Grizzlies registered 38 assists against the Jazz. That's their 17th game this year, with at least 35 assists, by far a franchise record. In Taylor Jenkins' first 5 seasons as head coach, the team only had 14 35 assist games. They have 17 this season. 9 different Grizzlies players made multiple three-pointers. That's the first time that's happened in NBA history. That stat is from a social media account called OptiStats. 9 different Grizzlies players hit multiple threes. That's never happened before. The previous record was 8. 13 times there had been a game where 8 different players made 2 or more threes. This is the first time ever a team had 9 different players make 2 or more three-pointers. This was just what the doctor ordered for the malaise the Grizzlies had been feeling. There was still no Ja Morant in this game, out with that hamstring strain. No update about his status or when he might come back. There was also no Marvin Bagley. Last episode, I'm like, why aren't you playing Marvin Bagley? You might as well. Well, Marvin Bagley got a concussion somehow between the previous game and this game. Lamar Stevens was out with a shoulder bursitis. You're shorthanded once again. But despite a slow start to the game, you fell down by 14 points. I think we were fretting a little bit at that moment. I never lost the faith. I might have placed a live wager when the Grizzlies got down by 12, trusting that the Jazz would accomplish their mission of tanking the game out. I'm not going to say they lost on purpose. I mean, Will Hardy was mad after the game with the way some of his players played. But the Grizzlies, they were desperate, they were hungry, and in the third quarter, they turned it all around. So the Jazz in the first half made 13 out of 19 three-pointers. Despite that, the Grizzlies rallied. They finished the second quarter on a really strong note, only trailed by 1 at the break. But then in the third quarter, the Grizzlies used arguably their best quarter of the season. Statistically, it was their biggest point differential for any quarter this season. They outscored the Jazz 41-17. won the third quarter by 24 points. The biggest quarter in franchise history as far as outscoring your opponent is 25 points. So this was tied for the second biggest point differential in a quarter in franchise history. The Grizzlies' leading scorer in that third quarter, Jay Huff. Jay Huff with a big 12-point third quarter. By the way, in that third quarter, the Grizzlies only played 8 players. That's sort of interesting. They had the starters play, of course, Scotty Pippen Jr., Desmond Bane, Jalen Wells, Santi Aldama, Jaren Jackson Jr., and then the 3 bench players they used, Luke Kennard, Vince Williams Jr., and Jay Huff. The Grizzlies got a double-digit score in each quarter of this game. First quarter, Jaren. That makes sense. He's our best player. Jaren comes out, plays very, very well. Desmond Bane picks up the slack in the second quarter. I already told you that Jay Huff won the third quarter. Fourth quarter, garbage time. It's time for Zach Edey to eat. Zach Edey padded his stats with 12 points in the meaningless fourth quarter. Also, Jalen Wells, who was struggling from the field once again, he got 8 of his 10 points in that fourth quarter. But the Grizzlies got what they needed, a comfortable win. And if we want to take optimistic things away from it, I think we say, well, Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. were elite as they needed to be. Jaren had 19 points on 8 of 12 from the field. He blocked 2 shots and got a steal. Desmond Bane, 21 points, took 16 shots, which is good to see. Last game, I theorized his back was hurting a lot, which is why he only took 7 shots last game, but he was 8 for 16 from the field. Also had 6 assists to go with 21 points. And oh, by the way, Scotty Pippen Jr. was amazing in this game. The International Paper Player of the game, Scotty Pippen. Scotty got a double-double in the start. He was 7 for 8 from the field. 16 points, 10 assists, got 1 steal. This is his 12th straight game with getting at least 1 steal, 0 turnovers. He was a plus 28 in his minutes. Scotty Pippen Jr., absolutely great in this game. Now, I was theorizing, or I was discussing in my Grizzlies fan Slack channel over at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast about how I think I would start in the games that Ja Morant's not available. I would probably start Luke Kennard. I feel like Luke Kennard, Desmond Bane, and then Jalen Wells or Vince Williams Jr. or John Conchar. I don't know. Let's say Jalen Wells still. I'd probably start Luke and Desmond. They've done that a lot. They've started that backcourt when Ja's been unavailable. I would start those 2 with Jalen plus Santi and Jaren. Those guys haven't played even that many minutes together this season. Now, despite me saying that, I go and watch this last game, and Scotty Pippen Jr. was just tremendous. Absolutely a difference maker in this game. And I've been skeptical about Scotty Pippen Jr. being a difference maker in a playoff series. Now, the Utah Jazz are not comparable to a playoff opponent, but Scotty keeps playing really, really well. It's been a great run of play for Scotty Pippen Jr., and absolutely in this game was excellent. Now, that lineup that I would think maybe they could start games with when Ja Morant wasn't available, it did play a little bit in the first quarter. Once Scotty Pippen came out, it was Luke Kennard that came in for him. We got to see a little bit more of that Luke Kennard, Desmond Bane, Jalen Wells, Santi Aldama, Jaren Jackson Jr. lineup. I like that lineup a lot. But off the bench, you had Jay Huff, who finished with 15 points, again, 12 of them in the third quarter, had 6 rebounds, continues being, a primary option. Now that Brandon Clark's out for the year, it seems like Jay Huff is going to be a primary option in the rotation. That stretch big. A lot of the numbers, as far as Jay Huff's net rating when on the court this year, they're not great. But net rating can be deceptive, can be deceiving. It can be flat out misleading. So they're depending right now on Jay Huff as that stretch big to do things that Zach Edey cannot do and to spell, Jaren and Santi. And Jay Huff delivered in this game. Got 6 rebounds, also blocked a shot. My guy, Vince Williams Jr. this game, good bounce back game. Now, he missed a ton of shots in the loss to the Clippers. He's missed a ton of shots all season. So we're excited to see him make 3 out of his 5 3-pointers. He was 5 out of 7 from the field, got 4 rebounds. Now, He scored 15 points. 7 of those points came in that garbage time fourth quarter. But still, this felt like a little bit more of what we are accustomed to or hoping to get from Vince Williams Jr. And despite the shooting numbers in the previous games, I feel like you can now say maybe 3 straight games. It seems like the activity for Vince Williams Jr. is there. So fingers crossed, this plus 31 in plus minus, that is hopefully a sign that we're getting the old Vince Williams Jr. back. Zach Edey finished with 15 points after padding those stats in the fourth quarter. He made 2 3-pointers. He was one of those 9 Grizzlies players to make multiple threes. Here's the honor roll of those who did it. You had Conchar 2 for 3 on threes, Edey 2 for 2, Vince Williams 3 for 5, Luke Kennard 2 for 7, Scotty Pippen Jr. 2 for 2, Desmond Bane 2 for 4, Jaren Jackson Jr. 2 for 3, Santi Aldama 2 for 6, Jalen Wells 2 for 6. Now, Santi in the start had 9 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. Weirdly, Jay Huff, not one of the 9 players to make multiple 3-pointers. He was only 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. Conchar's numbers, 8 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. He played all 12 minutes of the fourth quarter, too. Stat padding wasn't just for the rookies. Anyways, this win, it raised the Grizzlies to 4th place in the West. Now, of course, the upcoming schedule is daunting. You play the Thunder, then the Lakers, then the Celtics, then the Warriors. That's your next 4 games. I think I got the order right, but regardless, those are the next 4 opponents. They wrap up the road trip. The 5th game of the road trip is against the Thunder on Thursday night. Then it's the 3-game homestand, Lakers, Celtics, Warriors. As far as the results from other games in the NBA that affect the Grizzlies and the standings, the Lakers on Monday night lost to the Magic. That's their 3rd straight loss. The Lakers, by the way, in their last 10 games, just 3-7. Also on Monday night, the Nuggets lost to the Bulls. So that helped the Grizzlies. When you combine it with their win over the Jazz, the Grizzlies are now just a half game behind the Nuggets for 3rd place. They're a half game up on the Lakers for 4th place. Also, we got losses from the Timberwolves and the Warriors, teams chasing the Grizzlies. You had a Timberwolves loss, which dropped them 3.5 games behind the Grizzlies as they sit in, or they're tied for 7th. You have the Clippers and Timberwolves now 3.5 games behind the Grizzlies. Those are the teams currently in the play-in. You're trying to avoid the play-in. That's the catastrophe. So you're 3.5 games up on the play-in right now because of the Warriors losing the Jimmy Butler return game to Miami. You're now 3 games ahead of the Warriors. And again, you play them 6 days from today. Next Tuesday, April 1st, that's a Grizzlies watch party in Nashville. Come to Nobles East, hang out with me and other Grizzlies fans. But this win, this awesome, fun, blowout win, absolutely what we needed. Sure, it did not start that promising, but the second half where the Grizzlies outscored the Jazz 76-38, let's get more of that. Grizzlies get a nice win, and again, they'll be back at it on Thursday night. And that is all I have for today. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thank you to all the Patreon supporters at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. If you want a bonus episode, if you want to join that listener Slack, you can do all of that over there. Anyways, hope you all have a great Wednesday. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.